maybe try again. All right, I'll work with you on that behind the scenes, Sam, in a minute.
Okay.
Let's get it kicked off here. Thank you all for joining us. We really wanted to create this training today to address some of the top issues that we're seeing with Tshack files, both DPA and MCC, but also to provide access to our staff, Tim and Donetta, as well as our partners who are on the call to we wanted to provide access to those folks, for those of you that use our programs a lot, in order for you to be able to answer the questions you need answered, or ask the questions you need answered, and ultimately to allow you to get some face time with us. So we hope that after today, you'll feel a little bit more confident using Tshack's program, use them more. There's always an end goal, right? So joining us today will be myself. I'm Sarah Eleanor. I'm the Senior Manager of Homeownership Programs. I will be kind of behind the scenes fielding questions to folks. We also have Tim Almquist, Compliance Director, Donetta McGrew, MCC Compliance Manager. We also have a few representatives from Lakeview Loan Servicing, Jed Gunther, Vicky Visconti, Ned Tavale, and then eventually maybe Rosa Gonsalves. And lastly, we have some Freddie Mac representatives, Sam Noel, and eventually Jean Beard, if we can get her up and running. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. All these fine folks will be available for a Q&A at the end of this brief training session. So we're going to do a brief training session for about 15 minutes. And then the remainder of today's time will be dedicated to any questions for the panel. So you can stay for as long or as little as you like. When you are ready to ask questions, you can type them into the chat feature, and I will be reading them aloud so that everybody can hear both the question and the answer. And I'll do my best to field the questions to the appropriate parties. I do want to note that this training will not meet our training requirement to participate in our program. This is simply a supplemental training to help with your, continuing your education on our products. We will be recording this, and so we will be posting it to our website going forward if you want to reference it later, or if you'd like to share it with other interested parties that weren't able to join us today. So thank you again for being with us, and I'm going to pass the torch to Tim Almquist, who is going to go over the first 3 issues, kind of main issues that we're seeing with our down payment assistance program.
Thank you, Sarah, and welcome to everybody on the phone. It's nice for you guys to spend some time with us this morning. We're not really going to do a real training session. I don't think it's more, the purpose of this is more of a Q&A. We've got a whole gaggle of people on the line from Lakeview, as Sarah said, and from Freddie Mac and Tshack. So, I'm going to go over some of the things that we continue to see issues on, and maybe they're not so clear in our guidelines. But the first is the down payment assistance amount. So I know a lot of different housing finance agencies have different programs. They're based on sales price or FHA base loan amount or things like that. But our DPA percentage is always going to be based on the total loan amount, the final total loan amount, including your FHA, MIP, the upfront portion. Always going to be based on the total loan amount. So it's going to be imperative for you guys to input the proper loan amount, that total loan amount, and you want to base your second mortgage loan amount on that final loan amount as well. So it will be your responsibility at reservation to put in those correct amounts. If the loan amount does change through the process, make sure you call us or email our compliance review mailbox and just let us know what the new loan amount is going to be. And make sure you ask for that second mortgage loan to be uploaded as well, based on the first. So we accept, you can do the exact amount, meaning you can include the cents in with the DPA amount, or it can be rounded up or down to the dollar. We don't really care as long as it's consistent among all of your documents out there. All right, next, sir. Okay, compliance package submission. As you guys know, we have 2 compliance packages. We have a pre-closing compliance package and then a post-closing What we're seeing a lot these days is lenders are closing these loans without Tshack approving the pre-closing package. So we're getting the post-closing package, but we don't have approval on the pre-closing package. This has kind of led to a lot of errors in what I said before, the DPA loan amount, or closing with loans that are for borrowers that are over the income limit, over the purchase price limit. So it is important to get that pre-closing package approved, get your commitment letter, and get that done before you submit your post-closing package. And we also, we say this all the time, we need 2 business days to review documents after you submit them. This is a pretty hard and firm rule. We say 2 business days, but documents and packages that you upload today will be reviewed by the end of the day tomorrow. We're getting between 400 and 500 packages to review per day. We have a kind of a small but talented staff, so it is good policy to get that in, a couple of days at least prior to closing, just so we have enough time to look at it. If we suspend it, you have enough time to clear those conditions and get that thing ready for closing. And we get a lot of requests. One of the documents that we require is the underwriter certification, and I know those aren't completed a lot of times until the day before closing. But it's always good, to make sure you have our approval before you schedule that closing. I know that's hard sometimes, and I know you guys are running on schedules, but I hate to have an issue where, you guys get to closing and there's something wrong with the file and you can't, sell that loan to Lakeview after the fact. So just keep that in mind as you're going through these processes. Okay. All right, this is a good one. So trailing documents. So the second mortgage deed of trust, we get a lot of those that are sent to our office after recording. So I get a stack on my desk when I go into the office, and I'll have 30, 40, 50 original second mortgage deeds of trust that I have to send over to the Lakeview's document custodian, which is Indicom. That address is on the top of the deed of trust. It requests that you guys send those or have the title company send those directly to Indicom after recording. And I just say, we don't really mind sending them off over there, packaging them up and sending them off. But, I don't want there to be any kind of issue with, documents being lost or, not arriving with Lakeview timely. So just keep that in mind. Also, we don't get the second mortgage notes either. We don't get any paper at our office at all, and never any original documents. So all original second mortgage notes go to Lakeview's collateral department. And I believe that should be, included on their checklist when you look at the file, when you're sending that purchase package over to Lakeview.
Say that 5 times.
Purchase package. There you go. Over to Lakeview, just make sure, that collateral is where it should be, just to avoid any kind of delays or lost documents. Again, no paper to Tshack. Everything should be done online and through the lender portal. And that's really all we have, I think. Is there any more, Sarah? Is that it?
I think that's it. And then you can pass it off to, Donetta.
Okay, Donetta, take it away.
Hi, my name is Donetta, and I'm the MCC Program Manager here at Tshack. It's nice to meet everyone, and thank you for coming. So we do have a few top errors that we see a lot with our MCC program. One of the top errors that we see is the seller's affidavit is missing. The MCC program is the only program that requires the seller's affidavit, and a lot of times we're starting to see situations where the loan's already closed, and because the seller's affidavit wasn't signed prior to closing, now we can't get a hold of the seller. On extreme basis, we will review by situations of whether an exception can be given, but we do need the seller's affidavit to be signed in order to complete the review and issue the MCC.
Sorry, there we go. It wasn't clicked in there.
see.
Do you see it, Donetta?
Can you see me now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So the second one is missing the annual income on the underwriter certification. The biggest difference between the MCC program and the DPA only program is the MCC program goes by household income and not qualifying income. So with that, we have sometimes where we have requests to change the income. And when we do that, especially on the 80% below and above AMFI, we just want you guys to understand that changing the income can also change the program depending on what income you're adding in the total based off of our income prices. But we do ask that on the underwriter certification where it says annual income that you are using the household income annually.
Alrighty. Oh. Sorry, I don't know why it's not going back. Here we go. There we go.
Okay, and just a reminder, we are coming up on our busy season for the MCC department. We are getting ready for end of year reports, and at the beginning of the year, everyone will be calling asking for their MCC certifications. We have actually had more people added to the department. All MCCs are available in the lender portal. So if you do have any requests from a borrower or anything, you are more than welcome to send them the MCC that is in the lender portal. They will be uploaded at least 2 business days after you see the issuance date. If for any reason you don't see it or you have any questions, I do ask that you reach out to our MCC department. Our email address is mccompliance@tshack.org, and we will take care of your requests.
All right, I think that's really all we wanted to cover this morning to get. Oh, I used a slide that had recording over the top. I was like, why am I hearing my voice? Okay, so that was all we had to go over with you guys this morning, really formally. So I see that we have, you know, about 140 people, 140 lenders, processors, underwriters. So can y'all just start submitting your questions? And like I said, I'll read them aloud, and then I'll shoot them out to the appropriate parties as best I can. For those of you guys that are on the call, the panelists, if I don't give it to the right person, feel free to speak up and say, "Hi, I actually can answer that question," or whatever it might be. So we do have a couple already to start off with. Okay, so are borrowers with green cards eligible? That
Okay,
one might be a Lakeview question, but I know that, hang on a minute. We've got a couple of Lakeview people that are saying that they are panelists. Or Rosa?
Sarah?
Yes, ma'am.
Sarah? Yeah, so we follow Fannie, Freddie, and HUD guidelines for residency. So that green card would be a non-permanent resident alien, and so that would be acceptable. And they can email me if they want to get the residency guidelines, Vicki Visconti at bayview.com.
Yeah, and we also post those residency guidelines on the lender portal under the program documents tab. So if you want to go out there and pull that document down, there's some detailed information on who's acceptable and who wouldn't be.
Perfect.
Yeah, we oftentimes send out that residency guide by email. So
Right.
Yeah, there's just too many statuses and things to remember. All right, let's see here. There were some other questions, but let me make sure that I'm getting, you said Rosa and Jed are both in the meeting as participants. Ned, are you on? Can you give me their phone number so that I can look for them and promote them to panelists?
Jed is on. I'm the 704.
Oh, Jed, you're here.
904
Okay.
number. Yep.
All right. And do you know Rosa's number? Which number she used to call in?
Yep, getting that right now. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I'll message it to you.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see. What other questions do you guys have? There's a bunch of you out there. Oh, we've got some coming in the Q&A. Okay, sorry about that. Lakeview Servicing has COVID overlays for self-employed borrowers. These guidelines are not in the Tshack guidelines. Should we be executing to these guidelines for underwriter income requirements? So I guess Ned or Jed?
Sure.
Ned, you want to first take
yeah.
a stab at that? Go ahead.
Yep. So I do know that we did rescind a lot of our COVID overlays that were out there. I'm not 100% sure as far as which ones. I think it was self-employed borrowers, but there was an announcement that was sent out a couple weeks back. If we can get that email address of who asked that, I can just send the announcement out that's specific to self-employed borrowers and our COVID overlays.
Okay. Rachel Smotherman, would you mind typing in your email, and I'll
Yep.
transfer that over to Ned so that he can follow up with you on that.
Thank you.
All right, I got it right here. Do that. I'm just gonna transfer it over to you, Ned, in the panelist chat.
Received. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, next question. In regards to the DPA documents, will you allow the document date to be dated on or prior to the actual closing date? When we're having to redo docs to change the dates to match exactly with the close date, it gets challenging when we're having to redo so many due to the close date change. This causes some delays in closing, and not to mention a lot of extra work for our closers. I'm assuming that that goes to probably both Tim and Donetta as well as Lakeview.
Yeah, I'll weigh in on this one. When we review files, we want to look to make sure that that the document date matches up with the closing date on the final CD that we get in with the post-closing package. So that's going to be the rule. However, if it's dated within a couple of days, we've made exceptions in the past. I understand, that documents get signed on at different times. But as far as the rule that we have out there, yeah, it's got to be, we're gonna suspend the file or condition the file if we see a date on a note or a deed of trust that doesn't match with the final CD, the closing date, or the disbursement date on the final CD. But we will work with you on those. If they're dated a day off or a day prior, we're going to let those go through, but we want to have a rule out there to kind of have it consistent across the board.
Lakeview, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Yep. I think the question was the DPA document. I 100% agree with Tim as far as the second lien collateral. So if it's a second note, second mortgage, it should match up closing date wise and signing date with the first note and first mortgage. As far as the last 90 days, the second most common deficiency that we've seen is the missing DPA, certificate of down payment assistance for the grants. So for that specific document, which is a notice of down payment assistance, there is no date requirement or review. It's just that the document is missing from file. So wasn't sure if the question was about the DPA grant or the DPA second lien or mortgage, but those are the review requirements. Yep.
Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. And we'll move on to the next one. With the new DPA document format, there is very little room for us to insert the legal description. Can the documents be reformatted? I know we have the option to attach an Exhibit A, but that will require us to create another document when it's easier to just copy and paste our legal onto the document itself.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can go out there and just expand that area to put in that to actually paste the legal description. I think I've got to go out there and make a few other changes as well. So let me see what I can do to get that expanded. No problem.
Okay. There you go. Ask and you shall receive.
Hey, don't get carried
Um,
away, Sarah.
After reserving the loan through Tshack, is there a specified area or moment where you have to choose Freddie over Fannie for all conventional DPA? So that's a good question for Tim or Donetta.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and take it. So we have one conventional product out there as far as reservations are concerned. So you're going to reserve a conventional product, and then on the back end, you're free to use Freddie or Fannie. There's no distinction in our system. You don't have to reserve a Fannie or a Freddie loan type. But just remember, when you're going out there and using Freddie Mac, you're going to be looking for the HFA Advantage product, and for Fannie Mae, the HFA Preferred product. But no distinction necessary on the front end reservation side.
We got Sam that just joined us on camera. Hi, Sam.
I hope I got that right, Sam.
Oh, we can't hear you though. We see you, but we can't hear you.
All right, well, I'll use my phone.
There you are.
And there may be a delay. I'll use my phone. Can you see me though?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll just use the phone. Sorry about that. I'll do a hybrid. But
Okay.
Tim got it spot on. Good to see you guys this morning. Sorry for the
Good to see you
delay,
too.
but it's good to be with you. But I'll be right here just waiting on any support there.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
great.
Sam.
Vicky just posted on here as far as the previous question that Lakeview did remove all COVID overlays from conventional and government guidelines on June 30th of this year. So just to confirm with that first question that we had, they are completely removed. So, okay, next question we have is, do you require tax transcripts for each loan? I'm gonna give that one to Donetta.
You don't require it for DPA only loans, but anytime an MCC is attached to your reservation, we will need the tax transcripts, and that's to verify that the borrower is a first-time home buyer. If you're not able to get the transcripts, we will accept the borrower's 1040, but we do ask that the 1040 is signed. And this is going to be on any loan that has an MCC. So that's combo and MCC standalone only.
Okay. Oh, I think I missed one question here. I'm not sure if it was Donetta who had mentioned that the seller's affidavit needs to be signed prior to approval. I was not aware of that, as we have always required that they sign at closing. Is that requirement pertaining to lender's approval or Tshack approval? So maybe just clarify.
My apologies, let me clarify. We need the seller's affidavit to be signed before the loan is given the final approval to issue the MCC. So if you receive your commitment letter and you upload your post-closing documents and I don't have the seller's affidavit, unfortunately, I won't be able to give it the final approval to issue the MCC.
And that is an IRS requirement. It's not something we throw out there. It's something that we just have to abide by. And a lot of times, if we'll accept it signed prior to closing or dated prior to closing. A lot of times sellers don't want to sign that, especially if it's an investor or somebody like that. So sometimes it's best to make sure the seller is okay with a document prior to getting into closing and having a problem there. It's fine to deliver it signed at closing or dated at closing, but it can be done before as well if you like.
Perfect. All right, let's see. A follow-up to the tax transcript question, Donetta. We require 3 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do want to mention that we do require 3 years, but if the borrower was not legally required, like they didn't make enough, we will not request it if they were not required. We do ask that you update the program affidavit to reflect which year they were not required to file. That way we don't condition the file for it being missing.
I do feel like we get that question a lot, Donetta.
Mhm.
So yeah, the program affidavit is basically where you can indicate if someone was not required to file, and that will trigger the compliance team to know not to look for that particular year. So that's how it works. Okay, so for a loan officer to get approved to originate Tshack loans, we only take the module 1 course, correct? We do not have to take the courses for closers, processors, etc. I will throw that question to myself. That is correct. You, as a loan officer, are only technically required to take module 1. Obviously, I encourage folks to take module 2 as well, just so that you know what your closers and processors are supposed to be doing. A lot of times loan officers, they sell the product, but then they don't know what happens on the back end. It's always nice to know the whole process. So that way, if any balls get dropped, you know where to go and who to ask or how to help them push the file through the pipeline. So I always say more education is better, especially when the modules are only an hour long and they're available 24/7. So you can take them anytime. All right, what other questions do you guys have? We got Freddie here. If you guys have any Freddie type questions on Freddie Mac loans, HFA Advantage loans with our down payment assistance. I know that sometimes people have questions about how to enter the HFA Advantage product into LPA. Maybe that's something you guys want to hear about. Or maybe how to get your files purchased by Lakeview. What are some of the conditions that they're seeing that you can try to avoid?
Can I ask the lender the question, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure you guys that use the program routinely, you see that our rates have been increasing of late. And we always try to keep our rates as low as we can based on, being able to cover our costs and cover the amount of the down payment assistance, things like that. But is anybody having a hard time qualifying borrowers, or are you seeing less borrowers come through because of the increase in rates lately, or is it just kind of status quo, normal stuff?
Feel free to type it into the chat or the Q&A feature. I've got both windows open, so.
Hey, Sarah, can I just make a comment around, LPA and LSO systems you're participating in this use? Can I just speak to that for 1 second?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So, Sarah, what's the biggest common factor where your participating lenders at times will say, I'm having a hard time getting this through the system, whether they're using, obviously like an independent LOS, like a PC lender or like Encompass, but mainly a lot of times the culprit is in the offering identifier selection. And as simple as that may sound, Sarah, and I can attest to this, and Jean, I believe Jean is on the line. I'll just let her back me up on this because she sees it directly just being on 1-800-FREDDIE, is that the offering identifier not selected, one will default to one of our other affordable suite products. And then 2, because of the credit criteria, you may get a different outcome. So it's absolutely imperative. I know that sounds so simple, like Sam, that sounds simple to do. You'd be surprised in terms of the volume of loans of correction when it called 1-800-FREDDIE, that all it was changing offer identifier. Jean, is that accurate? If you're on the line, can you just back that up in a minute from a 1-800-FREDDIE perspective?
And you are correct, especially if the offering identifier is failed to be selected, then it's going to try processing it on a riskier product when you're doing the high LTV. So yes, that is very important.
Thank you, Gene. I just wanted to, that was you mentioned that, Sarah. I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's perfect. I feel like we get that question a lot. You know, make sure that you are choosing HFA Advantage, because there are advantages to choosing HFA Advantage. It allows you to qualify, you know, more people. So just to give you some of that feedback, Tim, I'm seeing come in. Basically, a lot of folks are saying that they are having a little bit of trouble with the DTI, with the higher rates. And since I have a bunch of you on this call, and I would not be doing my job if I didn't tell you that we have a tool that you can, that can help you with DTI, and that's the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program, Donetta's program that she manages. So when you add an MCC to a file, you can add the income that they will receive from an MCC to their overall annual income. And sometimes that will help the DTI issue. It might bring it down just enough, or it also helps in this environment, especially, them qualify for a little bit more of a mortgage, which, you know, house prices are going crazy. So that can be really helpful in these competitive environments that we're seeing. So I had to just throw that out there since you mentioned DTI. MCC, try that if you can, because it might help you not lose a deal. Our branch has not seen an issue with higher rates so far. I'd say I feel like rates are going up across the board, and it's hard to train borrowers to get used to the slightly higher rates. We've all gotten kind of spoiled. We are having borrowers who can't buy their property once they find one, when they see they now qualify for the lower DPA, 3 or 4% instead of 5%, due to the new higher rates. So they're needing more assistance up front in order to even be able to get in. That's from Ruth Ann Dunham. She's one of our, what do I say, loan officers that uses our product a lot. So she's probably seeing that more than most. And then I'm sorry. I want to make sure that there are no DTI limits for FHA or conventional without MCC. So Tim, you want to take that one?
Yeah, you know, we did have an overlay in there during COVID times, but we've taken that out. So for you know, standard DPA and DPA with MCC, we don't have any DTI restrictions or overlays. The only time we would have one is if you're doing a manual underwrite. We have a 43% required maximum back-end DTI, and some credit requirements there too, 640 required. But otherwise, just get your approve eligible or approve with your AUS, and we're good.
Yeah, so Anna Cabrales, you asked that question as well. If the DTI is over 45%, we need 700 credit score is still correct, and that is not correct any longer. We got rid of that overlay. When was that?
That was
in April?
April or June, I can't remember. It's been a while.
June 30th. June 30th.
June 30th.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. Thanks,
Okay.
Vicki.
Donetta and I were just talking about that, how the last 2 years have kind of been a blur. So it's hard to it's hard to keep the dates in our heads.
True.
Okay, so we do have some questions, and I think just to give you a heads up, Ned, Jed, Vicki, maybe these kind of seem like they might be for y'all. So the first one I see is, how do you view payment shock? For FHA, this is typically between 50 to 100% of the existing housing payment. In the case of someone living with their family and saving money, this can cause an issue if they are not paying rent.
I can take that one unless Ned, you want to.
Yep, jump on in.
Okay, so for that type of a question, we would follow, your underwriter would follow agency guidelines. So whatever your underwriter feels is acceptable following Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, or USDA guidelines is what we would follow. So we don't have a rule on it. There's no overlay on it. Agency, straight agency.
Perfect, thank you. Fighting a cold, so try not to cough over you, Vicki. Okay, how are Tshack loans performing? Default data for FHA loans are showing government DPA faring better than DPA coming from a relative, but worse when the borrower comes up with their own down payment. And that might be a Rosa question, or maybe Ned, you can hop in for her.
This is Jed. I'll speak up for this question. What I would, the way I would answer this question is we are not seeing Tshack loans performing any better or any worse than what our the national average that we have in terms of all of our HFA clients. I'd say Tshack's loans are probably just somewhere in the middle, maybe slightly performing better than what we've seen in our overall HFA portfolio. So from that perspective, we feel good about where the Tshack loan business is going.
Yeah, that's good news. Okay, what is the average duration of a Tshack loan before it's paid off? Essentially the home being sold or refinanced.
That's a good question. Anybody have an answer for that one from Lakeview?
It is something that we can pull up through our reporting, but as far as is it ready right now? No, we can send that out though. If we can get that email, but it will be a report that has to be pulled.
Okay, and William, William, I have your email. Let me see here. I want to make sure. Yeah, William Hover. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but I do have your email. So I'm happy to get that information from Ned over to you. Okay, so let's see what else. We had some more come in. When calculating the AMI/household income to make sure it's less than the average 80% of the borrower's county limits, does an MCC have to be included into that calculation, or would that stay separate from the income limit? So Donetta, this might be a good question for you.
You include the MCC if you're going to use the MCC to qualify the borrower for the loan. If you're not using it to qualify the borrower for the loan, then they would be using the certificate when they file their taxes.
So yeah, we get that question a lot about the when combining an MCC with our conventional product, the above 80% AMFI or below 80% AMFI. So basically what Donetta said, if you're using the MCC to help them qualify, which is what I mentioned earlier, to help with a DTI issue, then yes, it would be considered in the household income, and you'd have to make sure that you're choosing the right product, whether it's below 80% or above 80% based on that calculation.
And I will ask that if you're using the borrower, the MCC to qualify the borrower and you're calculating an income, you definitely want to make sure that you follow that loan completely through to make sure that the MCC is issued and we received fees and there were no missing documents that caused the MCC not to get issued.
That's what takes Donetta the most time, is cleaning up the files after they've closed and making sure the borrower actually gets the MCC. So yes, post-closing packages are required on MCCs. Okay, so when comparing rates and fees, where would it be better to use Tshack in comparison to TDHCA, since their rates are sometimes better overall? I'll say sometimes better. Tim, you want to take that one, or you want to?
Well, the short answer is it's always better to use Tshack. So yeah, a really good question. We price our rates, as I said earlier, I think we price our rates as low as we can without taking a loss when we finally, deliver that and settle up with Lakeview. And I know, there are differences in rates between us and the other HFAs that serve Texas. But, I think, to be honest, it's just going to be a question about what's better for your borrower. And, I think customer service kind of comes in and plays a role. We're going to do everything that we can to get your loan through timely, to avoid delays in closing and things like that. So that's something you want to think about, as well as, just take your borrower into consideration, and if the rate is better somewhere else, maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, and look at the terms. I mean, I know that we have a grant product available, which has no second lien attached. We also have the 3-year deferred forgivable second lien. They have the repayable second lien, and I know that they probably they came out with a new product as well. But basically, you're looking at the terms of the down payment assistance and deciding, how long is my buyer going to be in this home, and would they be better off getting a grant or the 3-year deferred forgivable, knowing they won't have to pay it back after 3 years, versus the repayable second. So it's just a matter of sitting down and figuring out that break-even point, and letting the borrower decide what's best for their situation, because everyone's situation is different. So sometimes people choose to pay a little bit higher interest rate on the grant because they don't know what's going to happen, and they know that they'll probably be ahead if they sell the home within 3 to 5 years. They're still ahead of the game if they get a grant, because they don't have to pay that money back. So it's kind of like built-in equity. So just looking at all those scenarios, I think is important.
Well said, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so can DACA borrowers qualify for Tshack? So yeah, I think that actually got added to the eligibility guide. And so yes, they are now eligible for down payment assistance, correct, Vicki? She's shaking her head.
Yeah, and our residency guideline says Fannie, HFA preferred, FHA, and VA. So our Freddie expert is out there. I don't see that Freddie HFA Advantage is allowing DACA, so maybe he can weigh in on that, but the rest, yes. Not USDA, though.
That's correct. Not as of yet. There's no change there. That's correct. Thank you.
Okay. So Fannie, FHA, and VA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's some documentation requirements. So they need to go to the eligibility guideline on your website or our website so they can see what documents are required.
Okay, great. Anna, if you would like us to send you that residency guide, you can email us at homeownership@tshack.org. Happy to send that over. It's also in the lender portal. Okay, so when you say all household income, would this include, for instance, a 16 or 17-year-old child who has a job and will live in the home? Donetta, I'm going to throw that one to you.
No, that does not include. This is going to be household income for anyone that's going to be on the title or deed of trust with interest in the property only.
So yeah, that would include, a 22-year-old that just graduated or anything like that, or maybe a parent that's living with you that you're taking care of. They have to be on the deed in order for us to count it.
We would include the income of a non-purchasing spouse. To just keep that in mind, even if you don't use that to qualify.
And that's for the MCC.
Correct.
Yeah, so I threw that question to Donetta because she's our MCC manager. So household income is required on any program that includes an MCC. If you're just doing down payment assistance by itself, we're only going to look at the qualifying income that you're using to qualify for the mortgage.
Right.
Oh, and Donetta, you got a shout out. Donetta is so awesome. We so appreciate her.
Oh, thank you.
All right, let's see here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. This Q&A feature is so weird. It doesn't like show you the questions that were asked most recently at the top. Okay, what other questions do you guys have?
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think Lisa Conte asked a question regarding turn times.
Oh,
and I
thank
can,
you.
Sure. Yeah, I can address that.
Please.
Yeah. So as far as the turn times, and this is for the month of October, and these are loans delivered to Lakeview through Tshack. 34 days. That's the time from the loan being locked to the time that it's delivered to Lakeview. So the average for all TSAHC lenders is 34 days. From the time that that loan is received to the time that it's purchased is 22 days. So as far as the turn time goes, from lock to delivery to Lakeview is 34. And then the time that we receive it, review, clear all conditions, and then purchase, that's at 22 days. So, yep, it's the turn time numbers.
Perfect. Thank you. I missed that question. Okay. Oh, and there's a question about MCC. What does MCC stand for?
My apologies. It's Mortgage Credit Certificate.
Okay, and it looks like we have a potential homebuyer on the training. So Frida, this training was really geared toward lenders that are basically offering our products to potential homebuyers like yourself. So that's why we're using a lot of jargon and terminology that you might not understand. So if you want to contact us offline, we're happy to kind of walk through our programs with you and explain how they work. Our hotline is on the screen, the 877-508-4611 number. Okay, we did have another question come in. I'm sure somebody may have already asked this, but with Tshack, are we also able to average credit scores with 2 applicants as Fannie Mae is doing? And that might be a Vicky question. I think I know the answer, but I'll shoot it out to Vicky.
Yeah, that would be a no, not yet. It's on the list of things to do, but it's a matter of resources and figuring out how to make it work. So at this time, no, we're not doing the averaging yet. I'm thinking first quarter, second quarter of next year, but it's something that's being addressed.
There you go. Okay, what is the income limit for Gregg County for FHA? I could only find the income limit for Gregg County on the conventional below 80% income list. I can take that one. It's the very first row on the income and purchase price limit chart that says balance of state, any remaining counties not specifically listed. So it's the very first row on our income and purchase price limit chart. And you'll just read it across according to what product you're using. Is there a rate lock period required, or do we just lock like we would on a normal loan? Do you charge rate lock extension fees if we need to extend, or do we just proceed as we normally would with our lock fees? Ned, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So as far as locking goes, you would lock through the system. Right now, all locks are for 60 days. So I'm just trying to, as far as normal loan versus a bond loan, I'm not sure how your LOS or how that would be. So I'm not 100% sure, but you just lock through the Tshack system, and it's good for 60 days. So we do have an announcement and a selling guide update that was sent out. We can refer to that as well if need be.
So when you lock it in our lender portal, Jill, your file is locked for 60 days. It needs to be sold to Lakeview by the 60th day. If you're not able to get it sold to Lakeview by the 60th day, then there is a specific extension form that you'll need to complete in the lender portal in the PDF docs section of your file. And the extension options are 15, 30, and 45 days, I believe, at the cost of 1 basis point per day. So those fees would be paid by y'all or potentially the builder if they are the culprit. But generally those fees are not passed on to the borrower unless you can totally and completely document that it is the borrower's fault. Did I say that correctly, Tim?
Yeah. Extension fees actually are, we changed it up a little bit. And it's on the form, I believe, 15 days is 12.5 basis points. 30,
you're right.
30 is 25, I think, and 45 is maybe 37.5. Is that right, Ned?
32.5. Yep.
32.5. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's all on the form. We have an extension request form in the lender portal. It's under the PDF docs button. So if you need to extend, just go out there, complete that form, check the amount of time you need, and just submit that to us, and we'll take care of it.
So I'm going to share a quick document with everybody that I just pulled up on our website. This is our step-by-step procedures. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, get familiar with it. It's a great document. It will help you have a smooth transaction with us. But at the bottom of this form is where it explains the fees. So thank you for pointing that out, Tim. Old habits die hard, as they say. That was changed a little bit ago. So yes, it's all spelled out there, but it's also
pretty close. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here, guys. What other questions do you have? Vicky's got to leave us. Sadly, she has another call, but thank you, Vicky, for being with us while you could. Okay, another question came in about student loans. For deferred student loans, we still follow regular loan program guidelines, correct? FHA and Freddie 0.5% versus Fannie's 1%. Sam, you want to take that one?
Yeah, and I'll let Gene back up, but yes, we're still at 0.5% on the percentage of student loans, which is extremely competitive, and it really helps, getting families qualified to that. I think Gene has to leave, but did you want to add a tidbit to that, Gene, before you leave and what you see there?
No, that's if they don't want to get documentation. If they want to get documentation when it rolls out of forbearance of exactly what the payment is, then they can use that payment that's on the documentation just so it's greater than 0.
And I'm assuming that's if it's less than 0.5%.
Yes, because I've had
Correct.
it was the 0.5 was greater than what they were wanting to use, so that's what they would have to do.
Okay. All right. Can a DACA borrower qualify for MCC Standalone? Donetta?
Oh, am I on mute? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, yes. The borrower can still apply for the MCC Standalone.
As well as the DPA, like Vicki mentioned, on those particular loan products that allow it, which are FHA, VA, and Fannie HFA preferred. Does it have to be an income-based repayment plan for student loans in order to be able to do the 0.5%, I believe is the question? Jill, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not asking your question correctly. No, the actual payment, does it have to be an income-based repayment plan once out of deferment? Would that be a Sam question or a Charlotte question, perhaps, or Jean? Sorry.
Jean, did you want to take that one?
I think she may have already hopped off.
I'm sorry. Can you just? I want to just make sure I understood that correctly.
So she's asking, does it have to be an income-based repayment plan for the actual payment once out of deferment, student loans? And I'm not sure I followed the question either.
Yeah, I'm not certain on how that one reads. I probably would need to pull Jean on that technical.
Okay,
on
so
that.
instead of
That one could be a takeaway for me, though. I can get back with her on that. She did have to, you know, because she's part of the call line, Sarah, so she was only able to do 60 minutes.
Okay.
Because she's got to take other phone calls.
Jill, can you shoot me your email and I'll shoot it over to Sam?
I'd appreciate that, Sarah, if you allowed me to take that one as a takeaway. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Sam, do you see it in the chat feature? Are you able to pull up the chat feature, or do I need to email it to you?
Yeah, I see it. I'm going to copy and paste it now.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Jill. All right. Let's see if I see any other questions here. All right, guys. There's still 100 of you on here. If you have questions, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap it up. Unless there's anything else for the professionals that are on the call that you wanted to specifically mention that maybe you had in mind.
I got nothing.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in, so and I'm seeing people start to drop off. So I think we'll wrap it up and give you guys back a half an hour of your day. And yes, for those asking the question, we did record this session, so it'll take me a little bit to get it uploaded to our YouTube channel. YouTube is painfully slow when you're uploading videos, so it's probably going to take me a couple of days. But then I'll get it out to everybody by email, so you can share it with people or you can reference it in the future. So okay, guys, we'll go ahead and say goodbye for now. See you later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, thanks.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank
Tim.
you all. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate it.